Hey, second and third grade scientists. You have been working hard on your conclusions and the thinking more deeply page, and the ones that I have received from you look really great. You are clearly learning a lot with all of your deep thinking and your analysis of your experiments, and I'm very impressed and very proud of you. And now you're all done with your actual experiment. It's time for science fair! And you might be asking yourself, Zoe, we can't do science fair. We can't go to school. How are we going to do that? And here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a little virtual science fair. Virtual meaning it's going to happen on the internet. And it won't be live, so it won't be like the real science fair in the way where you get to talk to a visitor and the visitor gets to talk back to you. But you will each be making a presentation about your experiment, and then we're going to have a special website where you get to share that presentation, and other kids will get to make little video responses to talk to you about your experiment. So it's going to be kind of fun, I hope. We're going to try it out, but it's the best way we can do science fair from home, and I think we should give it a try. So I'm really excited. And one of the silver linings for doing this different type of science fair from home, the virtual science fair, is that you get more choices for the way that you want to present about your experiment. If we were at school, we would all be making a big poster and writing a bunch of words on it and gluing it all together. And that's still a choice if you would like to do it that way, but there are lots of other choices too. The only big requirement for the type of presentation you do is it has to be able to be filmed. So your family has to be able to film you doing your presentation about your experiment, because that little video clip is what we will upload to the virtual science fair website next week when we are done and when we're ready to share them with the rest of the second and third grade community. But besides the fact that it needs to be filmed at some point, you could create anything to be filmed that still clearly talks about your experiment and explains what happens in it. So I'm going to share my screen with you and show you the little instruction sheet that you're getting with today's assignment that will help you get some ideas and inspiration for what type of presentation you might want to do. And then it'll also explain the expectations for what your presentation needs to include in it to be a scientist communicating about your experiment, no matter which type of presentation you choose. So here, let me share my screen with you so you know what I'm talking about. So this is the sheet that you're going to be getting with today's assignment, Science Fair at Home Presentation Instructions. And the presentations are due Wednesday, May 5th. That's this coming Wednesday. But you still have 6 days, including today, to work on it. So it should be okay as long as you get started today and you chip away at it a little bit over the next few days. You should have something great ready to share next Wednesday. And as you can see on this page, it says your presentation can be in any format that's able to be filmed, because a video file will be needed for the virtual science fair, but you can get creative with the way you want to do that. And here are some ideas for inspiration. You could make a poster about your experiment that you present out loud to the camera. That's the one that's most like real science fair. So you could make a big poster with information about your experiment, and then your family could film you pointing to your poster and explaining out loud about your experiment, like you might do at real science fair. But you don't have to do it that way. You could choose to do a picture book about your experiment that you then read to the camera, like a read aloud, and the picture book would have information and pictures about your experiment. You could have a video of you holding signs and pictures of your experiment while you explain them, like, here are my results, blah, 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 blah. Here's a picture of my plant growing. You could do a comic strip about your experiment, that you then show to the camera frame by frame. And then the comic strip, it could have you doing your experiment and finding out the results and things like that. A stop motion movie about your experiment with added narration or at least speech bubbles in the stop motion video is another possible choice. That one would probably take the most time and work. So only choose that one if you really are able to devote the time and effort it takes and get the family support that that one might need to do that one clearly. So that was just a fun idea since you do know how to do stop motion, but that one will take quite a bit of time. So only choose that one if you have the time to put into it. And then, kind of the most basic option would be a video of you explaining your experiment. And so that's a choice too. So these are all choices. You could also think of your own idea for a different style of presentation, as long as it's able to be filmed into a video at the end for us to present in the virtual science fair website. And whatever format you choose, whatever style of presentation you choose, you will need to include these things on this checklist right here. So that's what number 2 says. Whatever format you choose for your presentation, it needs to include these requirements. And it reminds you, remember, you already prepared all of these parts in your planning packet. So I'm not asking you to come up with any new information. If you've been keeping track of all those pages and stapling them together for your planning packet, like I've told you to, hopefully you have all this information in one piece, or even if the papers are in different places in your house, you can find them and look back at what your experiment had for all the steps doing it so that you know how to present about it. If you are missing any of those, let me know, because you turned them into me too, so I can send them back to you. If you're like, oh gosh, Zoe, I can't find my hypothesis page, and neither can my parents. Email me, and I will have your hypothesis page, and I can send it back to you, okay? So no reason to flip out, but do hopefully try to find all of your pieces, because that's gonna help you with this checklist. So in your presentation, I don't want you just to show your papers you've written. That would be kind of a boring presentation. But you can take the information from those planning packet pages to complete this checklist in your style of presentation. You need to show some sort of visual of your experiment. That could be one of the photos you took. Remember, I encouraged you to take photos throughout your experiment. That could be a drawing that you make of what your experiment looked like. That could be a video clip of maybe that you took at some point with your parents of you showing what was happening in your experiment. But somewhere in your final presentation, no matter what style of presentation you do, you have to have a visual so people can see what the experiment looks like. Somewhere else in your presentation, you need to clearly state your experiment's question. What were you testing? That's pretty important to tell your virtual science fair visitors. Explain the key steps of your procedure, how you set it up, how you conducted your experiment. Your presentation needs to discuss your results and your conclusion. It needs to mention something that could have accidentally affected your results. And then optional, you can include any other interesting tidbits about your experiment. Like example, bonus discoveries you made, other things you learned about plants or mold, who your experiment might help, funny things that happened during your experiment. So no matter whether you choose doing a poster, a picture, a video, a comic strip, a stop motion video, a regular video, you need to make sure that you include these parts about your experiment. And then there will be instructions for how to upload your video of your presentation to the virtual science fair in next Wednesday's newsletter. So you'll stay tuned for that. But do not wait to get started on your presentation. Start today. Choose which type of style of presentation you're going to do. If you're going to do a stop motion video or a picture book or a poster or a video of you holding up signs, or choose kind of what style you're going to do and then start making it. Start making the signs, or start making the picture book, or start making whatever style of presentation you choose today. And then work on it a little bit each day over the next few days. And then you'll be ready to share it on Wednesday. And Wednesday, I will let you know with a new video how to upload it to our special virtual science fair website. So you don't need to email it to me or have your parents send me your presentation yet. Just wait till next Wednesday and you'll get more instructions for how exactly to do that. If you have any questions about how to make this type of presentation or what needs to be included, let me know. But also feel free to be creative as long as you are actually communicating those important parts of your experiment that are in that checklist. Because when scientists explain their science to other scientists and to the broader community, there are a few important parts of their experiment that they need to include. That's why you have that checklist. So I think it would be a good idea to have your family print that checklist out if they can, and keep track of each of the things that you are including in your presentation as you finish getting them ready. All right, so I can't wait to see your presentations next week and have fun making them. You've worked hard on this experiment, and now I'm so excited for you to get to share your experiment through these presentations with the rest of the second and third grade community. One more thing, second and third graders. I'm not sure if you remember, but I am pregnant. Remember that I told you that I was going to have a baby, and we haven't been seeing each other much in real life these days. And what you do see of me is mostly my shoulders and my face. But my belly with the baby in it is getting bigger and bigger. And that baby might get born any day. So I wanted to just give you a heads up that if I disappear from our Perkins at Home newsletters, that's because I had to go have my baby. But either way, the baby will be arriving soon, even if it doesn't arrive early. It should be arriving in the next 1 or 2 weeks. And so next week will be my last week teaching you guys through these Perkins at Home videos and newsletters. And I really, really hope that I get to still be here and do the virtual science fair with you. But even if I do get to do that, that will be the last part of science this year that you guys do with me. And you'll wrap up the end of the year with all of your other wonderful Perkins teachers doing French and music and writing and PE and theme and reading and math and all those other great subjects that the other teachers do with you. But we'll wait to do more science with me until next school year, when second graders will be third graders and third graders will be fourth graders. And I can't wait to do more science with you then. But I just wanted to make sure that you weren't surprised if for some reason I have my baby early in the next few days. I just kind of disappear off of the newsletters. And just letting you know that even if I don't have it early, I will be finishing teaching science with you guys next week so that my baby can come right after that. So I just wanted to show you that my baby is getting bigger. So there's my belly. There's a little baby in there. And he is nice and big, and he is ready to almost come out. So I know that if we were in class, you'd be seeing my belly getting bigger and bigger every day, and this wouldn't be a surprise. Like, oh my gosh, I forgot she was pregnant. You'd be seeing me pregnant every day. But since you are just seeing my shoulders and my face every day, I wanted to make sure that you remembered that baby is coming very soon, and that will mean that I won't be teaching you science for the rest of this school year. That doesn't mean you can't do science. You should do science. And there's so many different science experiments and explorations you can do at home and outside. So keep doing science, but I just won't be providing the lessons and the videos anymore because I will have a new little baby to rock and take care of. So just wanted to make sure you remembered that and it didn't come as a shock in the next week or so.